All right, welcome back to another episode of Blown Coverage. I am Mike Bell with my co-host Caleb Schroyer. Caleb, we've got a big week this week. Last week we talked about maybe a little bit of a letdown week coming off of, Penn State, Oregon, Alabama, Georgia. But really this week we've got a pretty stacked lineup. We're not even going to be able to get in depth with all the games that we want to get in depth on. And I don't want to play spoilers, but I did look ahead to the next week, and the next week may be even better than this week.
Hmm.
But I'll save that for next week. But yeah,
I
what
think
what
this
are your
rivalry
thoughts?
is going to
Just
be the next week will be even better.
yeah, what are your thoughts on the coming week?
Mm. It will be busy. It will be busy watching all the games. That's for sure. Um, yeah, pretty much a stacked week. I mean, any week we have college football, it's great. But there are some weeks that are better than others, and I don't think last week was bad by any means. But uh, the kind of matchups we have this upcoming week is uh, I don't know, pretty unique and a little
Hmm.
biased, but I think one of the best rivalries in college football is happening this weekend as well, the Red River shootout, and maybe that will be controversial to some people, but anyway, which we'll get to that in a moment, but I'm excited about it. So
I think it's gonna be a great week for sure. There's pretty much good games on from 11 all the way to 9 o'clock at night. There's some great games on. So
yep.
let's get right into it. I think we have to start with where game day's at. I think it's debatable, but maybe the biggest game of the day, and that is the number 7 Indiana Hoosiers versus number 3 Oregon. This is 2:30 on CBS. Oregon has opened as a 7.5 point favorite, although I will say that has come down from 10. And yeah, I think this game has a playoff feel to it. I'm really
Mhm.
looking forward to it. What are your thoughts on this game?
So going into this game, Oregon's undefeated, Indiana looking great as well. Okay, they're undefeated as well. Um, Who is who's Illinois' best win? I mean, excuse me, who's Indiana's best win? It's against Illinois. Excuse me. I gave you the answer. Okay, Oregon. Who's their best win? Penn State, right?
Hmm.
Okay. So how are we supposed to view the Penn State win with the debacle that happened this past weekend?
I still view it as a great win. I think you have to
Don't get
look
me
at
wrong. Yeah, I
yeah,
do
yeah.
too. The atmosphere that they had to go into. I'm not trying to discredit it. I'm just not necessarily a rhetorical question, but it's just a question to think about.
Sure, I agree.
Whereas Indiana, their best win is against Illinois, right? Who is playing Ohio State this weekend. What has Illinois done since they lost against Indiana? And it was a horrible loss. They've come out and they fought and they've won both games, right? I'm kind of curious to see how this game will go because it's been like a tale of two cities between their best opponents, like Penn State. They're 0-2 since they're 0-2 since the Oregon game, and then Illinois uh, is 2-0 since the Indiana matchup. So I think it'll be interesting. I think the coaches, Signetti and then Lanning, they're both very aggressive coaches. I think that'll be interesting to kind of see what kind of chess match they will have. Um, I think I don't know. If I had to give a slight edge, it would probably be to Oregon, and they're playing it at home too. I think just Oregon's offense, they have a lot of weapons, and I think their defense is equally as great. Okay. Not to say that Indiana is not going to be able to go in there and compete. I think Coach Signetti has done a great job as far as turning the culture around at Indiana, because Indiana's got some great players too. The quarterback's playing great, and their wide receiver Surratt is, which even last year he was playing great. I may have butchered that name, Surratt, whatever you want to call it. So if Oregon is able to figure out how to cover that guy, they may have found the recipe to victory. But we'll see, I guess. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm really excited about this game. I would have naturally been excited for it anyways, just because, we've seen Indiana over the past year and a half before perform at a level that they have not in the past. Oregon's Oregon. We've seen Indiana already versus Illinois, as you were mentioning. But as I researched this game more, I got even more excited about it, and I can't wait to watch it. Both these teams are coming off a bye week, and they
Yep.
aren't just, in my opinion, just some above average team that's overperforming. Can they do anything in the playoffs? Can they even make the playoffs? No, I think this is just a straight up great to elite team. Now we'll see how they perform versus Oregon.
Yeah.
But I think they've taken a step forward from last year, and they were good last year.
Yeah.
Uh,
10-win team, if
Min-
I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
yeah, Mendoza, he's now a Heisman candidate. I mean, I think they're absolutely rolling. They've been super impressive. They're averaging 47.8 points per game. That's number four in the country.
Hmm.
And I just mentioned, Fernando Mendoza. He's been awesome. He's got 16 touchdowns, one interception. He's been pretty much flawless. Running the ball, they're number seven in the country. They've got 11 touchdowns on the ground. Uh, and their running back, Roman Himby, he's been fantastic. Uh, in the nation, they're top 10 in almost every offensive category, which is interesting because you just don't think of Indiana as that type of team, but they have been elite on the offensive side of the ball. They're second in first downs in the country, fifth in rushing yards, and like I said, fourth in points. So that's the offensive side. Defensively, 9.6 points allowed. That's third in the country on the defensive side of the ball. And they're first in the nation in first down and 10th in sacks. So yeah, I wouldn't just look past Indiana. It does suck for them that it's at Oregon. That's one of the tougher spots to play in the country. From the Oregon side, they're coming off an emotional win. Is it possible that they come out slightly flat like we saw Alabama do against Vandy last weekend? They came out just a little bit flat. But Dan Lanning always has the team ready. I mean, they're averaging 47 points a game. Granted, that's a little inflated because of the Penn State overtime game, but still 47 points. That's sixth in the nation in points. And Dante Moore has been as good as anybody. Uh, he's been electric. He's only got one interception. These quarterbacks combined have 30 touchdowns and two interceptions. So we're going to see elite quarterback play. And then their defense, Oregon's defense, 12.2 points per game, seventh in the country in points allowed. So I'm excited. I think these are two elite squads. I do not think Oregon's just going to blow this Indiana team out. I definitely see a path to victory here for Indiana. And yeah, I'm really excited for this game.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Like I said, I mean, both of these coaches, I mean, they'll just get you pumped up, And I remember a couple pressers from last year's season with Coach Signetti. I can't remember what exactly it was, but I remember he said some things were like, "Oh crap, man!" Like, he's saying some pretty confident things, And at the time, people were like, "Oh crap, what's this guy saying?" Because nobody kind of believed the Indiana hype. And I mean, Dan Lanning's the same thing. Every time the guy's got the camera on him post game or whatever, it's like he's snorted several lines of cocaine or something. He's just jacked up. So, and they're both like that in a sense. So I'll be very interested. I think both teams are going to be ready to go. I think they're going to play good quality of football. So it's funny that they ended up having bye weeks the same time to even prep into this game. So I think it's going to be more of a
Right.
chess piece than anything because they are able to study what the other team does and kind of be able to react to what they do a little bit quicker versus maybe if they did not have the bye weeks. So I think it'll be interesting.
Agreed. One of the, I guess you could call it matchups, X factors that I'm kind of watching in this game, if there is one weakness for Oregon, at least so far, is they have not gotten after the quarterback well. They're 100th in the nation in sacks. So if you give Mendoza time, is he someone that can maybe pick apart Oregon's secondary and they move the ball well? Because we think of Oregon's defense as a great defense, and I think they are a great defense. But they're going against a quarterback who has shown he's very good. You know, the quarterback they went against last week, I don't want to be too hard on Drew Aller. He is good, but, I think Fernando Mendoza, there's a reason he's in the Heisman conversation right now. So I'm very curious to see if Indiana can move the ball. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the game, though. I will say I don't want you stealing any of my picks. I know we do picks at the end of the week, so I don't want to give anything away and you just take what I have to improve your record. But uh, I think Oregon will find a way to win this game, but I think it's going to be like a 3-point contest. I think this is going to be the game of the week.
Yeah, I would agree. It would not surprise me at all if I would be surprised if this were not a close game at the end, by the middle of the fourth at least. Like I'd be very surprised. And
Hmm.
if that is the case, because there is always a chance it could happen, but whoever's beating the other team pretty handily, I mean, everybody else has got to be worried. I think you know. Um, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I would probably have to give a slight edge to Oregon as well, but we'll see.
Sure. Okay, let's move on. I want to go ahead and move on to one of the best rivalries in college football. A lot of anticipation for it this week. I am talking, of course, about Ohio State versus Illinois. That game's at 11 a.m. Uh, 5-0 Ohio State versus 4-1 Illinois. Uh, Ohio State's a 14.5 point favorite, and apparently this is a rivalry game. I didn't know that. I don't know if you knew that, but they're
No,
literally playing for a trophy. Did you know they had a trophy for this game?
I did not.
It shows
I
you
did.
how kind of irrelevant Illinois has been. It's called the Illibuck Trophy. And I guess no one knows about it because Ohio State's probably held on to it for like the 50 straight years, you know?
Yeah.
But in researching this game, this is a rivalry game. So yeah, so whenever I was, doing my research for the week and going over the games, you see Ohio State versus Illinois. You just brought them up and how Illinois has been impressive. I love Illinois. I like their coach. And I was trying to say, okay, well, how can I convince myself that Illinois can really compete in this game? This is going to be a fun game to watch, all that. And I'll just have to, you know, jump ahead in my analysis to what I think is going to happen. And that is, unfortunately, I don't think Illinois can hang with Ohio State. As much as I
How many
want it to
people
happen,
should? Yeah.
yeah, as much as I want to happen, this is just two teams at different levels. You just can't expect that much from Illinois, even though they have returning starters, all that. Ohio State there's a reason they're the number one team in the country. There's a reason they won it all last year. Uh, this is truly, I think, a David versus Goliath matchup. Their quarterback, if there could have been a weakness, Julian, how do you say his last name? I don't know if it's Sayin, Sion.
Sam, I think. Yeah. Sam.
Yeah, if there was a weakness, you could argue, okay, well, look, he's a freshman. Is he ready to go? Has he seen all the looks yet? Are there going to be any mistakes? And if you watched him up into that Washington game, it's like, okay, they haven't completely opened him up yet. So is he capable of making all the throws? And then what do you know? Last week, he has his best game so far, 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's been awesome, 14 touchdowns. He's he's been lighting it up. He's been on the road now. Um, and then not only that, just the pieces he has around him. Everyone knows about Jeremiah Smith, but Carnell Tate, their other receiver, has been excellent. I mean, I want Illinois to compete, but
Hmm.
these stats are pretty jarring. Ohio State outscoring opponents 205 to 25
Yeah.
through 5 games. Five
Yep.
points per game allowed. It's just like a next level good. And unfortunately, like I don't know who really could at this point of the season, like, other than a handful of teams, compete with Ohio State. I don't think it's going to be Illinois. Uh, Being that that's the case, if I had to write a game plan for Illinois, I would say try to take chances. Try to do something crazy with, because look, Julian Sion saying he is a freshman. Give him some looks maybe he hasn't seen. Try to get to him early, get him off his game, and if they score on you, oh well, you tried. Offensively, I think Altmaier, who's been so good this year, you're gonna need to have him have just a special performance. To Illinois', credit, they have a great coach in Brett Bielema. Can he put together just a great game plan? They're gonna have to, but I'm excited to watch the game. But unfortunately, I think this could be an Ohio State route. But what do you think?
So I think for the most part, you have copied my notes because, really kind of had the same thing. So kind of back to what I was saying when we were talking about the Oregon game. Illinois, since that loss, Luke Altmaier has had two 300-yard games, has pretty much been perfect the entire year, to be honest with you, other than the loss, which did he look bad? At times, yes. But since then, he's been perfect. And other than that game, he's pretty much been perfect. Many doubters have been silenced. So I think if Illinois were to have a path to victory here, kind of like you were saying, I think obviously Luke Altmaier has to be perfect. I think Illinois has got to commit to the run game, even if they're down by 10 points in the third or, whatever the case may be, because the more time that Julian Sain has with those toys of his, Tate and Jeremiah Smith, I mean, that's just going to be more likelihood that Ohio State runs up the scoreboard. So Illinois has got to have a really good run game, and just Luke Altmaier, he doesn't have to go out there and throw 300 yards. He may have to, but he doesn't. I feel like we don't need to put him in that situation. As far as the Illinois defense, I think they really got to cover up Jeremiah Smith and just do a good job at covering them. I think that I agree with pretty much what you said. Julian Sayin I can't remember if he's actually he may be a redshirt freshman, but he's still very young in his game development. And really the only major defense he's faced up to this point was Texas's. And, our defense was giving him fits for the most part. Okay. He's actually, Julian Sayin is actually leading the nation right now in completion percentage with 80. So whenever a quarterback has that high of a completion percentage, what are they doing? They're kind of dinking and dunking. Okay. They haven't necessarily gotten to where they're consistently going to the long game yet, which is fine. I mean, he's a very young quarterback still, and he's doing very good. But if as long as Illinois can pretty much just not allow big plays, they can make it a little hard on him for sure. So I'll be interested to kind of see. I think the spread on that game is Ohio State by 15 and a half points, which I could see that may very well end up happening, although I don't like it, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, agreed. I do think I'll be watching this game, as I'm sure you will, and I'm not looking for Illinois to do any sort of crazy upset. I want to see, can they compete in this game and show that they're ready to take a step forward as a above average team to maybe a really good team. So we'll see, we'll see. Let's move on, and I'll let you choose. Do you want to start with? You want to go to? Actually, I'm going to choose. Let's just get right into it. It's your game. It's the number 6 Oklahoma Sooners versus Texas Longhorns. They're 3-2. This is at 2:30 on ABC.
Which
Texas,
is a
as of
crime, by the way.
yesterday, yeah, it is. Texas is was a 2.5 point favorite. That line today has come down to 1.5. Last week it was 5.5, and that is because there is uncertainty about
Yeah,
the John
quarterback.
Mateer injury. And I know OU probably knows if he's going to play. They're probably playing a little bit on mind games. It's
I
going to
think
be
they are.
very interesting to see if he plays. What are your thoughts on the game?
So doing the research, uh, there's 69% of people think Texas is going to win, or yeah, 60.9% people think Texas is going to win. And I think it's just because of the quarterback situation with OU, because even just today, I saw that John Mateer was making a push to being able to play the Texas game. And then I saw, actually, I really didn't even understand what it was saying, to be honest with you, but it was Brent Venables was saying something along the lines of like, yeah, I don't know if he's going to be able to go or not, kind of thing. So I think there is a little bit of a mind game because the quarterbacks that would be playing are two drastically different. Like John Mateer's a really good thrower of the pass. Hawkins, their backup quarterback who we played against last year, and we did a really good job of containing him. He's a really good runner. John Mateer is too, but he's like a really good passer as well. Hawkins, I think he's like maybe a sophomore or something. He just hasn't developed as a passer as much yet. Either way, honestly, I am still worried about the game. My biggest questions for Texas is how will your offensive line uh, uh, show up against that great OU defensive line? Okay. And then how will our defense show up? Because last weekend against Florida, our defense just looked like, we weren't one of the best units in the country. And something I forgot to say potentially was Texas overlooking that Florida game in anticipation of this? I don't necessarily think so, but I I don't know. I don't know. If they did, it was foolish of them. But I think it'll be an interesting game. I'm very nervous, regardless of the quarterback situation. I think if John Mateer is out there, then it's like, okay, well, we might need to kind of be prepared for a loss. And if John Mateer is out there, OU's a great team. I think they're ranked 5. You could argue they could be a little bit further ahead too, to be honest, because they have a great defense, good quarterback, great offensive pieces. Something that, like, while I was looking at some stats and whatnot, I thought something that was interesting was John Mateer was out this past weekend when OU played Kent State, but here's John Mateer's stats. Okay. So he's 95 for 141 passes, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Okay. Arch Manning, 81 for 135 passes, okay, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And if you want to, we can take away the Arch Manning's last game stats, which was, I believe, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So that would put us at 9 and 3. So I think that's kind of interesting because there's not really too much of a separation here between the two quarterbacks. And John Mateer, I don't know if he's a 5th-year senior or a 4th-year senior, but anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting just looking at it. But Texas has got to have a run game. We can't just sit here and just put the entire game on Arch's shoulders, kind of like we did against the Florida game or in the Florida game. OU's got I think OU has a more talented defense than Florida. They have more pass rushing capability than Florida does. Okay. And if we put ourselves in that situation where we don't have a run game, Arch is going to have another game where he's hit like almost every play, and he's it just won't be pretty. So, anyway, what are your thoughts on the game?
Would you agree this is a must-win game for Texas?
I think so because it's going to dictate how the rest of our season goes. I think, like, if we win this game, I think that shows great resilience. And frankly, I was talking with my dad about this last night. For Texas to even be in a conversation for the playoff this year, we've got to be perfect the rest of the year. There can't be any blemishes or anything. So if we come out here and lose this game, that's over. Our season for the season is over essentially if we lose this game. And of course, you never want to lose to OU. You just
Yep.
never want to do that. Okay. So yes, to answer your question, I think it is a must win. I'm trying to think. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. Um, I think OU has a little bit more of a mature team than we do. So let's just say Texas loses. I think it's just a matter of how we lose. Like if OU just goes and beats the complete crap out of us, then yes, really bad loss. And it's like, okay, then you're going to start asking questions of, okay, what's the coaches doing here, or what? Because we have players, they're just younger, and that's not necessarily an excuse, but kind of just sets up some expectations. If we're at least competitive for the majority of the game and OU pulls away, I can at least live with that.
Yeah, and the thing is, if they do lose this game, could this loss then therefore turn into other losses? Because I think they know, like we don't win this game,
Yeah.
there's not a path for us in the SEC playoffs, all that. Uh,
Yep.
Here's a question: is this a must-win game for Oklahoma? And I'm not talking just because it's a rivalry, because obviously both teams want to win. I'm saying, is this a must-win game for Oklahoma?
Hmm. I think if OU loses this game, they at least have like I think they still have some capability of coming back to go into the playoff picture. However, I would probably say it's right there as far as like a must win because right now Texas is unranked. We've lost two games against really the only two opponents that are like real opponents that we faced. So I guess it would just be on how the voters view Texas at this point in time. I guess.
I think in that sense, OU can afford to lose the game if John Mateer doesn't play because the voters will give them the benefit of the doubt. But
Yeah.
that's not necessarily where I was going with it. Um, I think it's a must-win game because if you look at OU's schedule, which is one
Yeah.
of the
They've got
toughest
a
in the
very hard
nation,
schedule.
Texas is one of their easier opponents, at least to the way Texas has played so far.
Well, yeah, I would agree.
Um, so, given that, I think OU knows, like, hey, and that's just another reason Mateer, if I'm an Oklahoma fan, needs to play because that end of the schedule is brutal. I'll read it out to you real
Yeah,
quick.
it is. Yeah. Yeah. Go
Uh,
ahead.
at, Next game at South Carolina. Okay, you should win that one, but that's also depending on Mateer's health. We don't know if he's gonna be back. And
Yeah.
then you host Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Alabama, host Missouri, host LSU. So
I
like you got to think
don't
even
know if
with
anybody has
Mateer,
that hard of a schedule like that late in the year.
yeah, I think there's one other team. I saw them earlier. I think it was South Carolina. They've got a rough one. South Carolina's not going to win any more games this year, but yeah, if I'm OU, like I'm looking at it like, well, geez, we're probably not going to be perfect at the end of the year.
No.
There's a good chance we have two losses. We got to win this game, you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah, I
Even if
think
they
this
don't,
game
I
has.
mean, yeah. Just going to your point, if they were to win this game and lose two games like later down the road against those kinds of teams, I think the committee would be able to like kind of give them a little bit of grace because that is a hard like last month and a half there. Like how many teams do you think could go perfect? I don't even know if you can name one, but yeah, if OU were to lose against Texas and then add in one more or two more, their season's done
That's
too.
tough.
Yeah, it is.
Right,
It
right.
is.
Yeah,
Um,
so I think this game has I think it's a must win for both teams, and that makes the game even more exciting.
yeah,
Uh, from the Texas point of view, it's just like, geez, how much can you really fix in a week? Because it's not like they have one issue. I
yeah,
don't think their defense last week is actually who they are. I think they are a better defense than that. My concern would be is that offensive line
uh huh.
because I'd be worried for that offensive line about just about any team, but like it's
Oh, yeah,
OU. OU, I mean, they are harassing teams. So
yeah.
can Arch use his legs? Can
It
you
have
guys
been
find
his
any sort of a run
for
game?
sure. Yeah,
Right, right. So, when I was looking at the stats, OU is top five in just about every defensive category. And then when you compare that to Texas's offense, their best stat is like 48th in the country, and that's yards per play. That's 48th in the country. So they're going to have a hard time. I think if I were to talk myself into how can Texas get this done, one, it's a rivalry, things happen. But
yeah,
Oklahoma, despite their defense being great, is 108th in the country in turnovers. They've only got one interception this year.
and
Now,
our
that
defense
could be
is one of the top in the country as far as getting turnovers.
exactly, exactly. So I'm thinking, material or not, can Texas generate some turnovers? And whoever has the most turnovers defensively could be the team that wins the game. And that could be bad for Texas too, in the sense that OU doesn't get a lot of turnovers. So if you just give them some freebies, if Arch isn't on his game, it could be a long day for Texas.
Yeah,
Uh, but I'm
exactly.
excited for this one, even though it could be an ugly game.
It could.
Um, but we don't know how it's going to be. So listen, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Who do you honestly, let's say, give me both Mateer and non-Mateer. What do you think is going to happen here?
With Mateer, I definitely think it's a loss. I think if Hawkins is a quarterback, I think we at least have a chance. But honestly, I would not be surprised if OU won. Now, let me say this as well. It's kind of interesting since Sark and Brent Venables have been coaching. It's like we're taking turns on who's taking that hat afterwards. One year we win, the next year they win, the next year we win, and da 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 da.
Hmm.
So it's kind of interesting. And last year we won, and so thankfully we have that hat still. So here's my question. I still believe in the Texas coaches. I really do. I think Sark has done a fantastic job with Texas, getting us out, basically getting us out of the ashes of the arguably the worst 10-year period in Texas's history. I just don't see. Like, here's the question Sark's going to be asking his players: how do I make sure that they're ready? I believe in Coach Sark. I believe in all of our coaches. I think we have great coaches. I think we have one of the best coaching staffs in the nation. I think we're going to show up and be ready. Um, just, I think it's going to come down to, can our offensive line give Arch a chance and at least have a good enough run game to just make the passing game a little bit easier for Arch? That's what it'll come down to. But either way, both quarterbacks, I'd maybe give a slight edge to Oklahoma.
Yeah. I would pretty much agree with that. I will say, I think I was prepared to maybe go, and I still might go Texas, but uh, prepared to go Texas without Mateer. But looking at the stats, I just don't know how Texas is going to move the ball. I just don't. I don't know. I think OU's defense is just that good.
Yeah.
So, but you never know. This is a rivalry
Rivalry
game. Things
games are
happen.
crazy.
Watch it
Yeah.
be like a 49-41 game or something.
Yeah.
But
I could see it being a very defensive slugfest. And then just it coming down to the quarterback play, which if Hawkins plays for OU, I think Arch is better quarterback than he is. I just think OU has a better overall team than we do right now. I
yeah,
think off of last week's episode, I think we both agreed that Arch didn't play his best game by any means, but given the circumstances, he played a really good game. I know he tossed those two interceptions. What else to expect? So this game won't hinge on Arch. It will hinge on our offensive line. And that's where the conversation needs to go if we lose the game. And, actually, I'll bring this up because I forgot about it till just now. I saw an article saying that basically Sark may need to go back to BYU and coach there because of the expectations at Texas and whatnot. And I was like, guys, are you freaking kidding me? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. The expectations, they're definitely a problem at Texas. Like, too many people are just not patient enough and just like realistic about it. But it's just insane to me as far as the and I don't know who wrote it. I don't know if it's an anti-Texas person or a fan or whatever, but it's just ridiculous. Like, the guy has taken us to the college football playoff multiple years in a row, and I mean, the first one against Washington, it's like literally one play could have changed, and we could have gone to the national championship. Probably would have lost to Michigan, but it's not like we're, I don't know, it's not like we're horrible. It's just, I don't know, life cycle of a team, I guess, right? So
not to get
yeah,
too off track, but on that note, and this is, we talked about it a little bit with Arkansas a couple weeks ago, and that job. And here's the thing that I don't think Texas fans fully appreciate. It is hard to win in the SEC,
yeah,
and it's gonna get harder because I saw y'all's schedule for next year. I saw our schedule. I mean, it's tough. I mean, when you have Alabama, Georgia, and just these teams, you never know if they're going to be good. LSU, it's just not the same as the Big 12. where you only have a couple games that you got to win. Like, no, the SEC slate is tough. So to just expect to be the number one team every year, that's
Yeah.
just not going to happen. And I would also say, remember, as we talked about the last episode, you guys still are a pretty young team, especially at important positions, especially with Arch Manning. So, uh, yeah, you may just have to, as I said last time, look at this year kind of like a rebuilding year. So,
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I just don't know if the whole fan base would.
true, true.
I think they've drank
Um,
a little too much of the Arch Manning Kool-Aid, but we'll see.
yeah. Okay. Next game, we've got number 8 Alabama 4-1 versus number 14 Missouri 5-0, 11 a.m. on ABC. Alabama is favored in this game by 3. Um, Missouri, they're off a bye. Alabama, they're off a pretty tough schedule, especially these last 2 weeks. Obviously, talking about at Georgia and hosting Vanderbilt. And I know that Vanderbilt game, while the talent may have been different than the talent they faced versus Georgia emotionally, I know that was a big game for them, knowing game day was coming into town, knowing that Vandy beat you last year. And also, it's a tough spot for Alabama because next week they have Tennessee. If I had to rank those 4 opponents, Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee, I would say Missouri is probably the worst of the 4 yet. I think this could be the toughest spot in that 4 game stretch for Alabama for the reasons that you're coming off those 2 games. You're at Missouri, who is coming off a bye, and they know Alabama's coming into town. I think this is going to be a great game. Major stakes on the line, major SEC stakes. Let's not forget, Alabama, we think whenever they're, because Alabama's kind of back right now, right? But back doesn't mean the Alabama of the Nick Saban past. Probably not. These teams are a lot more even than they ever have been. I'm not saying Missouri's quite there with Alabama, but I'm saying Alabama still has its flaws. So I think this is going to be a very exciting game. I think this line is properly placed at Alabama -3. Those are kind of my general thoughts on the game. I am very excited for this one. So this is happening at the same time. What was the other game at 11? The Ohio State Illinois. I told you I think Ohio State probably going to blow doors. I do not think that with this game. I think this is going to be an exciting game. What are your thoughts? Good.
Yeah. So I pretty much agree with everything you just said. I think it will go back to so Missouri has had a pretty decent, like decently balanced offense. My only question is, what is Missouri's best win? Um, and really, that's kind of a toss up because do you value South Carolina a little bit better than Kansas just because the competition that the two teams have played? I'm not really sure. Here's maybe where I give the edge to Alabama. Alabama is more battle tested. They've played really good games. Like pretty much almost the only game that I would maybe say Alabama hasn't played a top tier opponent is ULM. Okay. Um, Ever since then, or every other game that Alabama's played against has been like a pretty good opponent. Okay. Whereas Missouri hasn't necessarily played like a truly top tier team. Okay. But kind of going back to last week when we were previewing the Vanderbilt Alabama game, what did Vanderbilt need to do to win the game? They needed to have a very good run game because Alabama's defense is a little weak to that. Missouri has done a very good job of running the ball this year. So far, their running back has 9 touchdowns and 730 rushing yards. And also, the quarterback is playing very good too. 75.9 completion percentage, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So they're a very good balanced offense. Be interesting to see how Alabama's defense shows up against the run game. If they can't hold it, I think Missouri's got a good shot at winning this game. But without knowing how the game will go, I'm going to probably give the slight edge to Alabama just because of the fact of the quality of opponents Alabama's faced versus the Missouri strength of schedule to this point. I think there is something to be said about iron sharpening iron. When you play better opponents, it's going to make you better as a football team and just make you more resilient, so to speak. I think it will be a good game. It's just my question is, how long can Missouri be competitive? And I think, listen, I think Missouri could win this game potentially, but I think more likely what would happen is Alabama wins, and I think it's just a matter of when will Alabama pull away with the game.
I like that analysis, and I also agree with what you were saying about, we talked about Vandy last week. How can they run the ball? Alabama 87th on defense against the rush. Guess who the number one rushing offense in the country is?
But I would have to imagine Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah,
So if Missouri is going to win this game, can they run the ball? And the thing is, I've got some stats here. Yeah, you mentioned the running back has 730 yards. That's number one in the country
yeah, that's
of
pretty
all running
insane.
backs. Yeah. So here's the deal. Even though the schedule hasn't been great, that's still impressive.
Yeah,
But going over these stats, it's like, well, geez, like, yeah, Missouri's been really good, but they've had a really soft schedule. And yeah, Alabama, if you look at where they actually rank statistically, it's actually not the best in a lot of categories. But it's also against, as you were saying, pretty good competition. Like maybe one of the toughest schedules in the country.
up to this
Their
point, I
only
think.
right to this point, their only soft game was ULM.
Yeah,
So that's the thing. There's still so much unknown about Missouri. Like, could I see a Missouri, even though they clearly are playing better, could I see Missouri being one of those teams like this is where it's like, oh yeah, that's right. This is Missouri. Like they're a 7-5 team. They just don't know it yet. They haven't actually faced anybody yet. I
yeah,
could absolutely see that.
yeah,
That said, I still think the spot really favors them.
yeah,
And their quarterback has been very good. How do you say his name? Pravola? Whatever. Dual threat star.
yeah.
I've seen him.
Pravula, I think.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
watched
not
him
just,
quite a
yeah,
bit in the Kansas game. And I think the key to this is can Alabama stop the Missouri run? By the way, Missouri can pass the ball pretty well too, don't forget.
yeah,
Uh, but if they can't run the ball, then this could be, I think, a long day for Missouri.
yeah. And Alabama is, I heard this like last week. This is like the best wide receiver group for Alabama since probably in the last 5 years. They got Ryan Williams, and I forgot the other guy. His number's 5, though. I forgot his last name. So, and Ty Simpson, we're both very high on him. Can Missouri cover them? Okay. And then also, I will say Alabama's running back, he had his best game against Vandy last week. Is that success going to continue? Okay. So those are my questions. Can Missouri control the Alabama passing attack?
That's going to
And it's at
be the
Missouri too. I'm not going to sit here and say Missouri is like one of the top team or top places to go play at, or for home field advantage purposes. But it does help them, or it helps Missouri. I'd much rather play at home than go anywhere, of course. But Alabama, I mean, that's one of the best stadiums in the country. You know,
right. Well,
so at least
Missouri's going to bring their best because it is Alabama coming to town off a bye. Alabama's got to be. Yes, you're right. Sharpens iron, but they've got to be like, okay, we're coming off some pretty big games.
yeah.
They got to start feeling a
Where's
little
their
sluggish.
mental at too? Yeah, at some point
Right.
it will be a war of attrition, right? I mean, there's only so
hmm
many great opponents you can play in a row before there's kind of some wear and tear that shows up in a sense. Um, I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but
Yeah.
something that you never had to worry about under Nick Saban was the team's mentality. You never had to worry about that with Coach Saban. With Kalen DeBoer, that wasn't necessarily a concern you had when like coming into last year because he has done great like pretty much at every job he's been at, but it was very up and down pretty much throughout his coaching tenure with Alabama. I think he's done a great job this year. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say Alabama's done anything bad. I mean, I don't really view the loss against Florida State as being that bad, but I think this will be like kind of a good culture test. Is Kalen DeBoer building a resilient culture at Alabama?
Agreed. And just by the way, the receiver you were thinking of was Jeremy Bernard.
Yeah,
25 catches, nearly 400 yards receiving. He's actually been their top guy.
yeah. Over
Five
Ryan
touchdowns.
Williams, which is kind of crazy to think about. A
Right,
lot of
right,
people were very high on him last year, and always were comparing him and Jeremiah Smith to each other nonstop last year. Duck the stats and stuff. Two different players for sure, but anyway.
for sure. Okay, so I think that's kind of like the big four games. All of these games are either 11 a.m., 2:30. Um, there's some other games I know we didn't go in our research as in depth, but there's other games to talk about. Is there a game that immediately kind of catches your eye that you think needs to be discussed?
I think there's two for me. Um, I think the Arkansas versus Tennessee game will be interesting just because Bobby Petrino taking over and everything like that. And then I believe, where's this game being played at? Let me see where I forgot where it was at. Let me look.
Tennessee.
So it's going to be a very hard environment for them. That's a good rivalry as well. Um, I will say a little backstory. This when this game was played last year, we were at Noah, which is a guy that we both grew up with. To the audience, I was at his bachelor party in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and Arkansas came out and beat Tennessee, who was ranked number 4 at the time. I believe Arkansas was probably unranked. Anyway, the next day after Arkansas won in dramatic fashion, everybody downtown, that was all they were talking about. So there's a huge passion for football in Arkansas. There really is. I just, man, I think we're both pretty high on Tennessee too. I think Josh Heupel has done a great job with Tennessee because, listen, it's a great environment, and you could argue it's a top 10 place to coach, but I don't know how to describe it. Like, I don't necessarily view it like an Arkansas job per se, because it's not. It's easier to get more talent to Tennessee, but it's not necessarily like a job like a Texas or an Alabama or even A&M or there's like a different, like they're right under that cusp in a sense. So it's definitely I
Hmm.
think it's a difficult place to coach in a sense, but they have a great fan base as well and a very interesting environment to go play in. But how will Bobby Petrino's team come out and play? I expect Tennessee to come out and just beat the crap out of them, but how long can Bobby Petrino's team be competitive? And that'll be interesting.
And he's auditioning as well. He
Yeah, he is.
probably wants that
Wouldn't that
job.
be insane if he got re-
I mean, and he's shown to be a pretty good
Yeah, he
coach.
is. Yeah, he was. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. You remember he was the A&M offensive coordinator just
yeah,
a couple years ago.
yeah.
So yeah, I think honestly, I think Tennessee could roll here. Um,
I'm
the
not saying
thing
the
is,
game's interesting. I mean, I think Tennessee is probably going to go out and beat the crap out of them. The only thing I'm curious about is how will Arkansas's team show up,
agreed. Well, and also Tennessee, could they be looking ahead to Alabama? They've got Alabama
yeah,
next week. Um, here's the
which is
thing.
a
Here's
rivalry game too. This is a rivalry game, and
Yeah,
it's one thing to look at it on paper, but man, it's kind of like we were talking
things
about with the
happen.
OU Texas game. Just any rivalry game, it's like you got to throw the papers out. You know what I mean? I don't know how to describe it to those that don't watch football, but I don't know. It's just like no matter the talent level, no matter how the team's been playing,
These
I
games
don't
can
know.
be
Just
close.
yeah,
Well,
it could
here's
be
the deal.
close.
Here's what I would say about the game. Uh, Arkansas has, other than Notre Dame, I don't know what happened, but they've moved the ball well versus
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah, they're pretty good
Tennessee
offense. Yeah,
has moved the ball well against everybody. Tennessee's defense hasn't stopped anybody, have they? I mean, I don't have their schedule right in front of me. I can look, but I know they allowed a lot of points to Mississippi State. I know they nearly lost to Mississippi State. So this could be one of those things
pretty
where it's
much
like a
every
high
game.
scoring
Yeah,
affair. Yeah,
the only game that there's a team of separation. that they've had against was ETSU. And I mean, it's like, who the hell is that? I don't even know. Every other game, I mean, when they played UAB, it was 56-24. Okay. But I mean, 24 points to UAB. I mean,
Right.
so
Well, I mean, look at
it,
both these teams. Both these teams score a
yeah.
lot and allow a lot of points. So this could be a crazy game. You really don't know.
Well, exactly. And really the only game that Arkansas has like really been out of was against Notre Dame, which we're both pretty high on Notre Dame. The Memphis, and listen, do do I think Arkansas should have allowed that game to be lost? No. But Memphis, I believe they are still undefeated. Yeah, they're 6-0. They're ranked 23 in the nation. So
Hmm.
I is it a bad loss for Arkansas? Yes, but it's not like Memphis is like a little podunk school or anything by any means. And Arkansas was pretty competitive with Ole Miss too. So I definitely think Bobby Petrino. I mean, I think it is just kind of coming down to a coaching point at this stage for Arkansas. Arkansas's got a great offense. If they can just figure out a little bit on the defense, I think they've got a chance. So
Agreed.
and they're
Agreed.
coming off a bye. So they were able to get in the lab a little bit and kind of take a look and see what they needed to get done. So
Hmm. For sure.
he
Okay.
was
Next game that I was going to bring up would be uh, Michigan at USC. I think that's probably going to be the game of the night window that probably draws the most ratings, and rightfully so. You have two big name programs. Both these programs 4-1. Both these programs. Oh, I'm sorry. Michigan's 2-0 in the Big Ten. USC is 2-1 in the Big Ten. USC coming off a bye. Their last loss was to Illinois. They were right there in that game. Couldn't get it done. Everyone was kind of expecting USC to win that game. I remember they were favored by 7.5. Very interested to see. Now it makes sense because they're coming off a bye and they're at home, but interested to see that they're favored by 2.5. And Michigan is one of those teams I've actually watched just about every game just by happenstance, and they are improving each and every week. I think their ranking is right where they are, or
yeah,
is proper for the level they performed at. Their only loss is to OU. That was one of Underwood's first game. Uh,
very
it was one
competitive.
of his first
Tight
games.
game at
Yeah.
OU too. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah.
really, that was a very competitive game until maybe around the 10-minute mark at the fourth quarter. True freshman quarterback going and playing against Brent Venables' defense.
Mm-hmm.
There's not too much more expectations you could have for Bryce Underwood. He played fantastic in that game, or as good as you could
Agreed.
expect.
Agreed. And one of the things I get from Michigan every week when I watch them is they're one of the best running teams in the
Oh
country.
yeah,
Obviously because Underwood moves the ball, but their running backs, Haynes has been spectacular. 654 yards. I don't know what that is in the country, but we were just talking about Missouri's guy who's got
number one,
730, and that was number
top
one.
three, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's something like that. So they can run the ball, and this is versus a USC defense that has yet to show up. So. Um,
Yeah, I was
I
about to
I'm
say
excited. I'm excited for this game. I do think it'll be fun to watch. USC, they're in a must-win spot. If they win, they're probably back in the rankings. Michigan, everyone kind of acknowledges they're supposed to be kind of in a rebuild year, a
that.
rebuild phase. But if they win this game, uh, their schedule's pretty favorable, other than that Ohio State game at the end of the year. So I'm looking forward to this one. I agree the line should be close, and yeah, I'm actually looking at Michigan's schedule real quick. I don't know if it's
Uh-huh.
favorable. They've got Washington next week. That could be a fun game, and then Ohio State at the end of the year. But gotta be impressed with Michigan to this point.
Oh yeah,
They've been good, and USC's looking for that win. That big win. This could be it for them. So I'm excited for this one.
yeah. I mean, you definitely got to give credit to what's that guy's name? Sharon Moore. I think that's his name, the Michigan head coach. I mean, honestly,
Oh yeah.
there has not been too much of a I don't know how to say it. I mean, it's not like Jim Harbaugh when he was still in college. He was one of the if not the best college football coach, or one of the best college football coaches. Okay, there was really not that much of a dip between when Sherrod Moore took over, and I think that's highly remarkable, to be honest with you, because Michigan's one of those teams where you got to kind of have I would almost say similar to Texas in a sense. You have to have the right guy, and that place could get running very well pretty quickly. I think they did a great job hiring him. I mean, I think this is his second year. He's done a great job with them. I mean, they've been, like you said, and frankly, that was the same story last year. After every game, they improved. Okay, which honestly, that's what you want in your team. As long as you're improving each and every week, that's all you can ask your team to do at the end of the day. Um, USC, I think it'll be interesting. Here's my thing: if Lincoln Riley loses this game, how much of a strain on the rope does he have? Okay, Lincoln Riley's been out there for like probably 4 years or something like that, and he has not really had the same success out there as he's had with OU in the past. He just, for whatever reason, has not been able to get a defensive guy over there. And it kind of along the same lines as oh my gosh, I forgot the game we were just the Missouri versus Alabama game. Just look at the opponent difference between Michigan and USC. Okay, USC's best game or best opponent they played against was Illinois, and they lost last weekend, or excuse me, 2 weeks ago. Believe in overtime. Okay, every other game. Now Purdue, they're kind of a sneaky team, but you're right, their defense is very leaky, and Michigan, very good run team. Bryce Underwood, yes, he's not like at that point yet where he's dinking, dunking, and tearing you apart through the air by chance, but he's not doing bad at all. Okay, and Michigan has played Wisconsin, Nebraska, and OU. Okay, and they lost against OU, yes, but they did very well considering who their opponent was and the quarterback and their life cycle, that kind of thing. But which one is more battle tested? I would probably go with Michigan, and their defense is pretty good too. So I think Michigan is just overall, even the quarterback edge, I'd probably give it to USC. But I think overall, Michigan is the better team, and they'll come out.
Agreed. As far as Lincoln Riley, it's interesting. I had the same thoughts about him, but from what I understand, from the people I've watched, because I watched Josh Pate talk about this and Colin Cowherd, and Colin Cowherd is a USC fan.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're in it for the long run with Lincoln Riley. Like, there's not really any talk of getting rid of him. Like, they don't consider that a thing. I don't really get it, but
Yeah.
yeah, they think, okay, no, we want this guy to put it together for us. We think he's eventually going to get there. So that's interesting, but I still think USC, they got to do it eventually. And if they win this game, that's going to give Lincoln Riley a lot more rope, and that
For
is
sure.
going to bring USC into the conversation a lot more than they have been. So there's some pretty interesting opportunities there.
Well, it's just mind boggling. You really think about it. Like USC, where would you put them as far as head, like if you were a head coach and search for a job, what kind of tier would you put USC in?
I think it's the top tier, whatever the top tier is.
Yeah, top tier. Number one, just because the history, the tradition, but also just like look at all the players like right there around LA. California is, arguably, depending on the year, probably one of the best states to get your recruits from. I mean, and USC is a flagship program of California. So the thing that's like mind boggling to me is how is Lincoln Riley not able to get a great defensive coach into there and attract some defensive players just to, I don't know, just make them top 50 or something at least, because, God knows Lincoln Riley may be one of the best offensive coordinators in the country. I mean, I know he's head coach, but, it's his offensive plan. And I mean, actually be competitive in the college football playoff. I think that's like the most interesting aspect of USC. Um, there was something else I was going to say, but I mean, even in the NIL, it's like, what's that about? Money. Okay, USC's got plenty of money. I promise you. USC's got plenty of money. So I don't know. Interesting situation. I almost think it's a going back to what you were saying. I'd probably say it is a must win for Lincoln Riley because if not, it's gonna be like, okay, man, you can go and smear the cream puffs, but when you're playing actually good teams, you're just gonna fold.
If they win this game, they will be ranked, and that could set up a very good game next week at Notre Dame. So that
Yes,
could be a
kind of
fun
a
one to watch.
rivalry game too. Yeah, always a hard
Right,
fought game for the most part.
right. So gonna be interesting. Okay, is there another game you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I don't think it would be fair for us to get to discuss my team and leave yours off the buffet table. So we can dive into it a little bit. We don't have to go in depth, but I think it's a better matchup than what people are probably giving it a chance to be.
Agreed. I mean, I think, Mike Elko said this week this is the most talented team A&M has faced all season. That is true. This is a losable game. I think
That's
everybody
kind of funny
knows
though
that.
for him to say that though, since you guys have played Notre Dame. I mean, I get where he's coming from, but
Well, yeah, and you got to
where
think
he
as the season
is,
goes on, like he wants to hype up the opponent. I think he really wants to make sure that no one underestimates this Florida team.
yeah,
But look, coming into the season, who would you say is more talented, Florida or Notre Dame? I don't know. I think it's actually close, but I
yeah.
would probably lean Florida. Um, so
It's probably
yeah,
just coaching staff difference, really and truly,
yeah,
between Notre Dame and Florida.
yeah, for sure. And look, schedule as well. I mean, Florida has
Yeah,
had a brutal schedule. So,
yeah.
granted, Notre Dame has too. They faced A&M in Miami and at Arkansas, things like that. But anyway, Florida can win this game. I'm yet to see A&M put together a full four quarters, and that includes the Notre Dame game. I want to see A&M get Marcel off to a hot start, get him some quick passes, get him going, stop with the penalties. And if you do that, I think you can win this game. Florida coming off an emotional win. They're still, well, for the rest of the season, they're in a must win situation, but they've got hope. They've just beat Texas. They just beat a
Mhm.
top 10 team. They're thinking, okay, this is just the next top 10 team in the list of top 10 teams we got to face this year. If we beat A&M, we've got a great chance, not a great chance, but we've got a chance to win out. We don't beat A&M, our season is over. We will be 1-2 in the SEC. We will be 2-4 on the season, and they know that. Is A&M riding too high? They're ranked number 5. They haven't had a true test in a while in terms of talent. Mississippi
Mhm.
State, Auburn are good, but again, talent-wise, not to Florida's level. This is a night game at Kyle Field. That heavily benefits A&M. That defense has been outstanding so far. At least these past two games, they seem to have figured something out. I find it hard to believe Florida's offense could do what they just did two times in a row because that's
Yeah.
just not who they have been all season. Would it shock me? No, it would not. Um, to me, this is more about how does A&M's offense do versus Florida's defense. Um, we'll
Well,
see. We'll
the
see.
thing that we talked about regarding the Texas and Florida game was we could not get a running game started, which would help our quarterback.
Hmm.
I mean, you guys definitely have a better running game than we do. You guys have a very good backfield, way better offensive line than what we do at this point in time. So I think it's going to be harder for Florida to stop your guys' run game compared to ours per se. So I think if you guys stick with that and just Marcel Reed is just serviceable enough, you got great playmakers out there. Just get them the ball, just do enough passing. Um, I just think it's an interesting spot. I think what makes Florida dangerous is just the fact that they do have the talent and that they're kind of backed up against a wall. That's a
Hmm.
dangerous combination. When you have the mentality of you're going to lose, it's pretty much like you're locked in. Okay. Now, if Florida were to lose, then that's gone. You're not really up against the wall because your season's really over at that point. But right now,
Right.
there's I'm not sitting here saying if Florida wins out, they could still I mean, well, actually, I won't go into that, but Florida can still turn the season around at to this point. So it makes them dangerous. So I'll be interested to see how they come out and play. And if they do come out and play and it's competitive and they end up winning, it's like, holy crap, that Florida team is, they're coming alive and they're dangerous. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not, just because I do think A&M's good. And I think the Achilles tendon is probably Marcel Reed, but I think he's serviceable enough against a really elite running game.
Agreed, agreed. I do think this will be an exciting one to watch. I think if you're looking for two games to watch in that
And a
night
nice
slot,
Biofield game, too. That's a very hard environment.
exactly, and honestly, that I think is what puts it over the edge to me. Is
Yeah.
it's like that's a lot for Florida to just overcome all that. If they do, impressive, and I will be very angry. But hopefully that does not happen. A&M about to go on a road
You'll go through what
stretch.
I have been going through this past week. Yeah.
I'm sure. But A&M about to go through a road stretch, so they really have to win their home games if they want to be special this year. They're about to go at Arkansas. We just talked about them. We haven't played at Arkansas in like 15 years because we've been
Oh
playing at
wow.
Jerry
So it's
World.
actually they moved it to. I actually did not know that. So they moved it to.
Yes.
Okay, I do like that a little bit better.
Oh, I love that. I love
Yeah.
it because it shouldn't have been at Jerry World. But
Yeah. No,
Arkansas, you never know. You don't know how they're going to be with Bobby Petrino.
that could
But
be
so
in that game too. Man, it's like I mean that's a rivalry game. Okay, not to the same level as Texas A&M, but like I was
mhm.
telling you a few minutes ago, Arkansas's fan base is they're very passionate in that game. It's always like no matter kind of what is happening, there's a huge turnout for that game on both sides. So it's a very interesting atmosphere.
Agreed. So then after Arkansas, it's at LSU and then at Missouri. So, A&M's got to win these home games if they want to do anything. So that's all I have to say for the A&M Florida game. Some other interesting games. We don't have to get into them, but I do want to briefly mention it is a rivalry game. I don't know what to expect, but number 10 Georgia at Auburn. I'm interested to see now. Auburn's coming off a bye, but I'm interested to see that the line is Georgia minus 3.5. I thought it would have been more, as bad as Auburn's kind of been.
Yeah.
That's 6:30 ABC. I'll have the game on. I haven't looked into this game. I just don't think anything of Auburn. I think Georgia's going to take care of business there. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it.
I mean, honestly, man, not really. Other than I'm surprised that the spread's only 3.5 in Georgia's favor. To be honest with you, just because I know they lost against Alabama, but how many teams right now could beat Alabama? Okay, uh,
Right.
Gunnar Stockton playing very good. They just have more weapons offensively than they did last year, and I don't know. I think they're playing good. Auburn is still kind of like, are they handicapped by their quarterback situation? That's my question. When's Jackson
hmm
Arnold going to kind of let loose, let go, and play to his potential?
Right. Right. Well, and Auburn coming off a bye week probably explains. Night game. By the way, it's a tough place to play at Auburn.
Yeah,
It's
it
actually one of the
is.
toughest in
Yeah,
the
I'm just
SEC.
asking Nick
So
Saban. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah. So there's that. South Carolina at LSU. I don't think anything of South Carolina, but I am curious to see how LSU responds. They're off a bye, and I just want to see can LSU kind of put it together. Can they figure some things out offensively? Can they get some momentum going? Um, Other than that, there's no other games I want to talk about. Is there any other game you want to mention?
No, I don't think so. I mean, but that being said, though, that is a crazy lineup for just one week.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much college football has changed since the realignment of the two power conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC. I know there's debates on the good and the bad aspects of it, but one thing it definitely
hmm
has done is it's made college football like it's taken it up another notch because there's just way more weeks filled with way better games.
Agreed, agreed. Okay, before we go, who's your team to watch for an upset this week?
Hmm.
And try to go with one that would actually be an upset. So, for example, Texas is favored 1.5. OU doesn't count as an upset in this case.
I would probably say Missouri over Alabama.
Yeah, that was going to be mine. I
Right.
think I might choose Missouri to win this game outright. It's tough to do because part of me is like, look, Missouri's still Missouri. They haven't proven anything yet. It's just a tough spot for Alabama. And
It
who
is.
knows? Maybe Missouri is good. So uh, that would
Yeah.
also be mine as well. So, all right. Well, listen, that covers week 7. I am very excited. Like I said, I think these next 2 weeks are going to be great. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, I am too. Like I said, it'll be a very busy Saturday. I'm gonna have to wake up, drink a lot of coffee, get ready for the day. Gonna be tired by the end of it. I'm gonna sleep well. I can guarantee that. So,
Agreed. All right, well, this has been another episode of Blown Coverage. Caleb, I will see you next time.
all right. See you.